This is the start of another reading vlog. Hi, my name is Jeanette, and I want to thank you for joining me on the channel Jane Reads. So as I said, this is the start of another reading vlog. I'm going to be reading 2 books in this vlog, and I don't know what else we have planned that might be included in this vlog. My husband and I are currently on holidays this week, but it is a staycation, so we're just doing things around the house or taking little day trips there. We may go to a few little free libraries or look for a few little free libraries tomorrow and a thrift store. I think that's the plan, but I don't know for sure. But what books am I going to be reading? So for my October reading challenge, my prompt is to continue a series. And I have 2 books on my October TBR that are continuing a series. So I have, on my Kindle, I have Hearts and Goals by Carolyn Miller, and which is book number 4 of the original 6 hockey series. And then I have The Heart's Appeal by Jennifer Delamere, which is number 2 of the London Beginnings series. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to read this one first because it's what I have in physical copy, and because we're on holidays I can read in bed at night with the light on because Andrew doesn't need, I can disturb him. He's not sleeping to get ready for work. Does that make sense? I'm hoping to finish the Kindle one as well before we go back to work. So today is Wednesday night when I'm starting this, and we don't go back to work till next Tuesday because in Canada Monday is Thanksgiving Monday, so we have the day off. So still, holidays are half over, but still like halfway to go. Perfect. Okay, I don't really know much about this book other than it is book 2 and we are following the sister of the siblings that we met in book 1. So the main character's name is Julia. It is set in London, 1881, and it says he never expected to see her again. Then she appeared with the most unexpected request. So Julia has come to London to study medicine and become a doctor, a profession that has only just opened up to women. When she witnesses a serious accident, her quick action saves the life of an ambitious young barrister named Michael Stevenson. It's only later that she learns he could be instrumental in destroying her dreams for the future. Coming from a family that long ago lost its status, Michael Stevenson has achieved what many would have thought impossible. Hard work and an aptitude for the law have enabled him to regain the path to wealth and recognition. His latest case puts him in the middle of a debate over the future of a women's medical school. He's supposed to remain objective, but when the determined Julia reappears with an unexpected entreaty, he begins to question what he's made most important in his life. But Julia may be hiding her own motivations. As the two are tangled into spending more time together, will their own goals be too much to overcome? So it is a historical romance, so most likely Julia and Michael are going to end up together, but how does that work out? I'm going to dive in and check in. I will dive in, find out what happens, and I will check in once I have some thoughts. Okay, it is now Thursday, and we did go out into the country and a couple small towns looking for little free libraries. Weren't very successful there. We found one and there was nothing at it that I was interested in. Then we did stop at a thrift store. I did pick up 2 books there, but I've already put them on my desk. I should have brought them up, but oh well. I will do a haul later. But I am reading The Heart's Appeal by Jennifer Delamere. I am now 70 pages into it and I am really enjoying it. So we are following Julia. Oops, I don't even know the main character's name. We are following Julia, who was on one of the underground railroads. So it's like carriage cars that went, like, London is known for the underground, like the tube system. And so it sounds like they went through the tunnels, but with carriages back in the late 1800s. And so she was riding one of those. There was this Michael with his sister and another lady riding on the same carriage as her, and there was an accident, and Michael gets injured, and she is able to use her nurse knowledge to help save him until a doctor can get there. And so now the two of them have just met after the accident happened and actually met one another. And Michael turns out to be a barrister who is working with somebody. He's like an assistant to a lawyer who's working for somebody to get the medical college shut down. And Julia is trying to get into that medical college. So yeah, I'm really liking kind of both sides so far, but Michael's sister is also trying to get him paired up with another lady. And I don't like that lady. The way she reacted to the accident and stuff, I of course want him with her, but how is that going to work? But now it's time to make supper. And I'm going to make this almond chicken recipe. It's a skillet meal. I love skillet meals. They're like, that and the slow cooker are my favorite ways to cook. Dump and go pretty much, or add everything to one pot. That's my favorite form of cooking. I have made this quite a few years ago. I printed off this recipe in 2010. I'm pretty sure I've made it since then, but it has been quite a while. And we were given some fresh green beans last Thursday. I have now cooked them, like blanched them and put them in the freezer, but that's what I'm going to use tonight for this. So I'm hoping, it says 30 minutes, so hopefully this is a fairly easy meal. I do not remember, but that is on deck for supper tonight. Okay, so we've had supper. I'm just propping you up wherever it kind of fits because I don't want to pull out my tripod. Okay, so we had supper. It was not as good as I remember. I don't think I'd make it again. However, I would add almonds to rice next time we make rice because I like that part. I just wasn't a fan of the way the chicken cooked, but oh well, that's fine. So I thought, while I'm down here, I haven't read since I updated before supper because we ate supper and I watched a bit of YouTube. As you can see, it's on the TV. But I thought, well, I'll grab the books that I picked up. So these are the two books that I picked up at the thrift store today. They're actually 9 books. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, there are 10 books. So there are 5 books in each book. So this is the Golden Filly series, collection number 1, collection number 2. One was $2 and one was $4. I don't know why, but whatever. So I think this might be the series that I read in the early 90s that I remember really enjoying. But I don't know for sure because I don't even know if it was the early 90s that I read a horse series that I remember loving and reading multiple times, or if it would have been the late 80s. I don't know. I do know it was horses, it was set in Kentucky, and it was with horse racing, with like the Kentucky Derby and stuff. That was kind of like an inspiration of it. So I don't know for sure that this is the series I read or not. But I thought, well, for $6, and they look to be in fairly good condition. They're a little yellow, but not bad. So I thought, well, let's give it a try. It says in it that they were originally published 1990, 1991, and 1992 for collection 1. And in collection 2, it was 93, 94, and 95. That's why I'm not 100% sure if this is the one I read. But I mean, it's very possible that I only read the first half of the series and not the second half of the series, because I know I only had like 4 or 5 books. I don't remember having 10 books. So we'll see. So that is what I've added to my series. I have read this author before. It's Lorianne Snelling, I think is how you say her name. I have read her like within the last 5, 8 years maybe. Like I remember reading a book from her, but I have to say my memories of that book aren't like, it's not fond memories. I remember really liking the book, and then the last chapter happens and I was like, what? And it ends and I was like, it was such a letdown for me that it is just stuck with me that, ooh, I do not like the way that wrapped up. And I just had no desire to pick up any more of her books. But I've heard really good things about this author and people that have really enjoyed her books, her older series, and kind of read them multiple times. So I'm like, okay, I do want to give her another shot. And maybe I did enjoy her because maybe this is a series I read in the past. I don't know. So I think this is a series I will be adding to my TBR for next year, because this year's I have a lot to read to meet my goals before the end of the year. I expect this video, yes. I think you'll be seeing this vlog after my goal check-in video, so you will know. I will link my goal check-in video below, and so if you haven't seen it already, it will be linked, and you'll see what books I still need to read this year to complete. My husband has come back home. I just heard the door, so I'm going to sign off. Plus, the hockey game starts tonight. It's the first game, the opening night, right, for the season for the Ottawa Senators. They are playing the Florida Panthers, who are the Stanley Cup champs. But, of course, on my TV channels, the game is blacked out, which means I need to listen to it on the radio, which is fine. I don't mind doing that. So yeah, that is going to be my evening. It's a good day to read a book. And today I am continuing on this one. Well, let's go the right way. I only have this left. So it is Saturday morning. I did not check in at all yesterday. I didn't really do a whole lot. I did read. I worked on some reading trackers, kind of making plans for next year. Just kind of doing random stuff that I wanted to get done around the house. Nothing too exciting. My husband went to a men's breakfast this morning with a friend, so I've had a few hours of quiet in the house this morning, so I just watched some YouTube and got up and stuff, and now I'm going to read until he gets home. I don't know what our plans are for the rest of the day, but we'll see. However, I do plan to try another new recipe tonight. Hopefully, it's better than the other one. We'll see what happens. But book-wise, how's it going? So I am now on page 244, chapter 22 of 360, 370 maybe? 375. And the other sister, both her sisters have made appearances now. So the other sister from book 1. And so we kind of got caught up in her life a little bit. And then there is a third sister who I assume is going to be the main character of book number 3. But she's also made an appearance, so we get to know a little bit about her. There was one particular scene in this one that was like, I had to keep reading because it was, what was going to happen? They were in the wrong place at the wrong time. And it was like, oh, where's this going to go? And I liked where it went. I mean, it kept me guessing what was going to happen, but then like kind of the resolution for that led into something else. And I really liked that. So yeah, I'm really liking these characters. The one thing I don't really get is the Latin lessons. Now, there's a little bit of Latin mentioned, but not like I don't have to read Latin or whatever, but because it's talked about, but I don't really understand the importance of it in what they're doing. Like, why that's a storyline, but I mean, I guess medical terms, I guess, I don't know. Because she is studying to be a doctor, or she's not currently, she's hoping to get into medical school to be a doctor, so she's trying to work on stuff to get prepared for that, right? Yeah, that's about it. But I'm gonna keep reading, and I will check in once I have something else to say, or as I get closer to the end. Okay, something's just being revealed that somebody is not who we think they are. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay, gotta keep reading now. I finished it. Okay, so it is now Saturday evening. I have really been multitasking. Oh, I painted my nails today. I realized I don't have very many fall-ish colors, so I need to rectify that. But anyways, I have been watching the Senators hockey game. They played Montreal and they lost. Of course, the night that I can actually watch the game, they lose. The night that I can only listen to the game because it's on blackout for my area, they win. Maybe I'm bad luck. And I've been reading and I've been participating in sprints on Lucy's channel with Lucy and Anne from In Search of Wonder. So I will link them below. But yeah, so it's been a good night. Okay, book-wise. I like it. I really like the relationship and kind of how things get resolved and kind of working through and just the way the characters interact with each other and the strong-willedness of Julia for standing up what she believes is right, for trusting God for everything. She has a strong faith. Her and her sisters grew up in an orphanage that was completely run on prayer with no like financial guaranteed support. Basically, the owners prayed and what they needed came to them when they needed it. I'm like, that's really cool. So Julia has really learned to trust God and turn to God for everything, and that is what she does. And she teaches Michael and shows him that and teaches all those around her. And she's determined to become a missionary in Africa. And when things kind of don't work the way she sees she has planned, right, kind of barriers come up, she turns to God and looks for his guidance for what's next in her life. And so I really liked that part of it. The ending, though, not the, not, okay, I'm going to say not the real ending, but I mean, it is the ending. Because we have the main story and then we have an epilogue. I would have been perfectly fine with the way the main story ended. With the epilogue, the last line of the epilogue, it was like, what? So now I really need to pick up book 3 to hopefully get some answers. Now, I know that's the whole point of a series, is that you will keep going. But how dare it end that way? So I think this is going to be a 4 stars for me. A lot of faith elements. I really liked the characters and stuff, but it was a bit slow at times. But, so now I'm going to go from 1800s to contemporary times. Oh, it was open. And I am going to read Hearts and Goals by Carolyn Miller. This is book number 4 of the original 6 hockey series. And I know that it is set in Montreal. And that's about all I know. Oh, and the player, I can't even think of his name. Maybe Bo? I don't know though. I can't think of his name. We met him in the previous books. He is a goalie. I'm pretty sure. It's been a while since I read a couple of the other books. And the summary of this one to even remember. But yes, so that is the one I'm going to start. Right now it is 10 o'clock. So I don't know how much longer I'll stay up and read. I'll be up for a while though. But yeah, so that is the plan. I will check in tomorrow once I'm kind of progress. This one's not going to be as easy to show you my progress because I don't have a bookmark that I can physically move and see how far I am. I have to kind of rely on my Kindle, and it's not always accurate because especially if there's like extra stuff at the back of the book, then it tends to end sooner than I'm expecting because there's all that extra stuff, but that's okay. We'll see what happens. So that is the plan. Well, I am going to work on getting some stickers printed. Well, I've got them printed, and now I need to cut them to put them in my reading journal, which is here. So I wanted some for the reading challenges so I can fill in those prompts, but I'm like, I don't have enough for a page, so then I decided to just print all the books I've read recently and I'll see if I can put them in the review part. I'll show you that once I get there. Okay, let's see if I can do this. I don't have a proper prompt for my camera at the moment. I feel like I'm going to be very shaky. I don't want to be crooked either. That's my biggest concern. Let's go straight. Try to be as straight as we can. So I've added in the book covers. I do have one for here, but I don't know if that's the book I want to put there or not, so we're gonna wait. Then for Katie's, I've added in again. And then I thought for my review section, right, if I add the little covers. Now, because I hadn't planned this ahead of time, it worked well for this side, right? Not a problem. This side, well, you see a little bit there. So not bad. Some are worse than others. So I only went back enough to get a page. And as you see, I don't. And as you see, I need to write my review for that one yet. I really got to get working on that. But yeah, so I think I like that. That is a little peek at my reading journal. I will do a full flip through of my reading journal at the end of the year, but it's very casual. So yeah. Okay, now I am going to read for a bit, and then we're getting together with friends later today for supper. I'm here to do a check-in for Hearts and Goals by Carolyn Miller. And when I started this one, I didn't even think about it, but it also has the word hearts in the title, whereas the last book I just finished was The Heart's Appeal, so it had the word hearts in the title. That's kind of cool. Didn't even think about that when I put them on my TBR and decided to read them back to back for this vlog. Okay, Hearts and Goals. So we are following Bo, who is the new goalie for the Montreal Canadiens and has just arrived in town just before the summer training camp, I think August-ish. And then we meet Maggie, who works at a gardens in Montreal, kind of a tourist place. I don't fully, because it's the name's in French, I don't know what that word means exactly. So she speaks fluent French, grew up in Quebec, from my understanding, grew up in Montreal. She has a son. We do not know what's happened to the father. I'm pretty sure he's passed away, but we don't know for sure. She lives with her mother, and her dad has passed away. So it's the 3 generations in the one home. Her son is 5, so he's still very young. And so they have their meet, and it's really funny and kind of like very unusual, not something you would expect. And then they kind of go their separate directions and don't expect to see each other again. They happen to run into each other at another funny moment, and a friendship kind of strikes up a little bit because then they run into each other again and get talking. And Bo is a very strong Christian, and he's looking for a Christian woman. And I don't get the impression that Maggie has much of a faith, so we'll kind of see what happens there. But there have been some really funny, entertaining moments so far, or comments by people. Like Bo's mom wants him to find a woman because she wants grandbabies. And so she's like talking about setting him up and kind of like, well, what about this one? And what about this one? And then he happens to make a comment that he met a woman and just like ran into like, because of what the incident happened. She's like, well, what about her? What about, right? And like, she doesn't even know this person. Then his sister gets involved as well and tries, which probably wasn't a smart move on Bo's part because he kind of dragged his sister in and then he kind of pays for it, but that's okay. So his mom and sister do not live in town. Okay, then at the gardens that Maggie works at, the director is talking about this pumpkin ball that is coming up. And so in this line it says, so the pumpkin ball is less than a month, time to be the week after the Canadian Thanksgiving on the 2nd Monday in October. Okay, so this definitely takes place in the fall season, which means this book will fulfill Oshina's fall season prompt on her yearly reading challenge. Perfect. And today is the Canadian Thanksgiving when I'm filming this clip. And so the pumpkin ball is happening in a week from today. So that's just funny coincidence. I'm enjoying it. I'm liking the characters. I do have an idea of where it's gonna go. And the little boy, the 5-year-old son, he's really cute. Some of the comments he says, really kind of cute. So we'll see what happens. The only thing I'm not liking about this, a couple things. Bo has a man bun. And when he goes visits a kid at the children's hospital, one of the kids says, "You look like a girl, you should cut your hair." I had that thought too. I do not like long hair on guys. And some personal opinion, I know it's very popular, especially in the hockey world, but yeah. So I was kind of like, yeah, I agree. So I was kind of turned off by the cover because you can tell on the cover he has a man bun. And then the other thing, what was I gonna say? Two things I wasn't like. Oh, right. It is set in Montreal, and she speaks fluent French. So there are a few French phrases included, quite a bit. And I mean, they're very basic, and they kind of do give the English translation as well. But I don't know French. I tried to learn it in school. I mean, I had to learn it in school. I barely passed. I'm not good at it. And so reading this just kind of, But I mean, it is set in Montreal. It totally makes sense that it would be included. But yeah, so that just kind of, I just don't like that. But I mean, going into the book, I knew or expected that would be in there. So we'll see how it goes. Right now, I am just starting chapter 9. I'm 38% in, 128 pages, I think is what my Kindle says. So 38, so almost to the halfway point, not quite. We will see what happens. I will check in once I get further. Just out for a drive looking at the fall colors. We went and visited my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, and now we're on our way home and taking little detours to see if we can catch more red and orange and green. And now we have to drive by this pond. And so we found the pond, but they don't have the waterfall on.
He's looking over.
But we're gonna go say hi to him because we do know the owner. Okay, so I have a check-in for Hearts and Goals by Carolyn Miller. And while I'm reading this now, I am going to flip you around for a minute. Oh, wrong angle. I am watching the Canadians play the Penguins because it just felt appropriate. Montreal Canadian goalie felt like I had to watch a Canadians play, right? I don't normally watch the Canadians team unless they're playing like my team or it's playoffs, but yeah. Okay, so I am now at 70%. I have about 100 pages left, I think. It's so hard not to know exactly when I'm reading on my Kindle. That's why I really like physical books, but it's okay. According to Goodreads, it's 340 pages, and I'm on page 235, something like that. So, 100 pages or so. Okay, but there is a section in here where Beau is talking to his mom, and his mom reminds him, because they're not sure if Maggie is a Christian or not, and Beau's mom says to him, you need to make sure that you're not just dealing with a relationship evangelism where you want her saved for your own purposes. That her relationship with God isn't based on her relationship with you. And if the relationship with you ends, then her relationship with God ends too. It's kind of reminding that the importance is that she has a personal relationship with God, not because of you or anything. Montreal just scored a goal. They're winning the game right now. Okay. So, another bit later, and there's a lot of faith in this. Like, so they're at a church service, and basically you're hearing a part of the sermon, and they're talking about communion and a part of like why we do communion and the importance of a relationship with God, and that God doesn't judge you and you're forgiven for anything. And yeah, like there's a lot of faith discussion. I am liking that for sure. There are some moments in it that are a bit cheesy, as kind of is predictable in rom-coms, because like it just very predictable in some of them, but I'm liking it. I am liking it. I expect there to be some conflict in now that I have 30% left, but we'll see what happens. But so far I am enjoying it, and I'm especially enjoying that like Beau has a good relationship with his mother, and we'll talk to her about this kind of stuff because Beau is almost a 30-year-old boy. Man, not boy. Right? And so it's good to see that he is willing to talk to her about this kind of stuff. So yeah, my next check-in will be when I finish the book to let you know what my final thoughts are. Okay, so I finished Hearts and Goals to think of the name of it. That is what happens when I don't have a physical book, because I don't see the cover enough. Okay, so I finished it last night. It is now the next day. I'm home from work and I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. So I want to say it's a 4-star for me because I did enjoy it. I really like the faith message. That was probably my favorite part of the story. And spoiler alert, he has to cut his hair at one point because of something that happens. That is not going to ruin the story at all for you, but I was very happy when that happened. Yeah, I guess for me, there could have been more growth in certain side characters, because there's a little scene where one of the main characters is talking to a side character about something, a very small conversation, and then it picks up a couple weeks later, and that side character has thought about it a little bit and is going to take action. But the initial conversation seemed to come out of nowhere because they didn't really have that relationship. And I would have liked to have a little bit more of that. There were a few things, there were just a lot packed into the book for the time period. And other things was the relationship progresses very, very quickly, but then it ends with we don't know what's next for the characters, which I did kind of like, because it wasn't all of a sudden they're married, right? It just, okay, so they're in a relationship now what? I did like that. And I assume we will see more of them in the other 2 books in the series, as the series goes forward, because that is the way it has worked in the previous books. They either make an appearance or they're mentioned of and you get to catch up with them. So I would assume that's the way it's going to work for the next one. It was very obvious in this book who the next 2 people will be about for the guys, for the main characters. But there's 2 books left. I just don't know which book is next. So who's next? But I am positive that Dan and TJ are going to be the main characters in one of the next 2 books, respectively. I'm pretty sure. I'd be surprised if they weren't. Plus, as I get further in the series, the original 6 teams kind of gets narrower and narrower, right? Because each book, the player plays for one of the original 6. So there's 6 teams, there's 6 books. So as you get further in the series, okay, well, it's not going to be that team this time. It's not going to be that team this time, right? So it's you narrow it down a bit. And they're not that the 2 remaining players play for the 2 teams that are left, because they could get traded. But the way they're talked about quite a bit, I assume that the next 2 books will feature them. But we'll see what happens. So that is my review for Hearts and Goals by Carolyn Miller. I enjoyed it, but I have enjoyed earlier books in the series better. And I think part of that is I didn't like the French setting. And that's just me personally. I like, maybe not the French setting per se, but the insert of the French words, which, I mean, it totally made sense. Just as a non-French speaker, it kind of threw me off a little bit. Oh, and it's botanical gardens that she worked at. I still don't know exactly what her role was, but yes, I finally figured out what type of gardens it was. Okay, so out of these 2 books with the word heart in the title, which was not planned at all, I want to say I liked Heart's Appeal more, only because I preferred the relationship in the story. And I just liked the way the characters got along. But that's it. So I've got a historical and I had a contemporary. And the historical is my favorite, which really isn't a shock when I kind of measure those 2 genres beside each other, because I do tend to enjoy historical more than contemporary. I do like contemporary, but I do tend to like historical more. So that is my review of these 2 books. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this vlog, and I hope you were interested and not bored, because I don't lead a very exciting life. And it's very mundane when we're just kind of around home. It's much more exciting when we go away on vacation, but that's okay. I like my quiet life. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye.